I'm going to do my best to pronounce the brand of motorcycle that you were riding, and you're going to give me a rating on a what, five scale. Okay. I'm going to go with Rieju.
3. We'll go 3.
No. Okay. Go with it. What is it? What is it?
Rieju. Yeah.
Rieju. So
Yeah.
it is
Like,
kind of 3 syllables in that.
yeah, it's a Spanish word. So yeah, Rieju, that makes the the sound that it looks like it's supposed to make, and then the J makes the H sound. So that was
Well,
close. Most people say Rieju, so that's like the 1 out of 5.
That would be the 1 out of 5. I love it. Well, dude, Mr. Quinn Wentzel, I have to ask, like, how has the year been for you? What did you think of the 2025 US Hard Enduro year, how everything went, the bikes that you've been on, and the program that you've been running with?
Yeah, it's been good. That was my last year was my 5th year with Rieju, so yeah, it was a good year. I think my riding's just been the best it's ever been. There's a little bit of loose ends in the program we're still trying to tie up, but it was a good year for me. Had some good rides, some good finishes. Yeah, just trying to just build and learn each year. So overall it went well though.
You said 5 years there on Rieju. How has the bikes changed for you, right? If I remember correctly, when they purchased what was gas, those were gas bikes at the time. Those have obviously evolved a lot. I know that we're seeing that the 2026s should be injected to some degree, right? So that's got to have evolved for you as well throughout the years.
Yeah, well, so far nothing's really changed. Still on the carb bike to this day. I just got the new injected bike this week, so gonna be putting some time on it and see how that goes. But yeah, it's just we've been developing the same bike for the last 5 years, and making improvements each year, and figuring out what needs to be done for hard enduro, because it's very specific. Like, you can't just run a stock bike because things are gonna break. So yeah, it's been a lot of that type of stuff, just trial and error learning, and I can answer that question better in probably 2 weeks from now when I start putting time on the new fuel injected bike. So but yeah, right as of now, not much. We've been on the carb the whole time.
Would there be a time, because of how much time you've now had on the Riejus that you've been riding, that you might just decide to ride the carb bike at King of the Motos instead of the newer bike? Or is it kind of like, you know what, this should be good, let's see how this goes?
I'm leaning more towards this should be good, and I have faith in, like, I know Alfredo Gomez helped develop that injected bike, and he had a big say in that thing getting developed, and I think it's going to be better than, say, where the KTMs were when they first came out. That they weren't very good, like the TPIs. So I think these bikes are going to be closer based off of what I've heard and seen. So I'm hoping it's going to be good. I'm a little weary about, like, nobody has any parts for them yet. So there's no radiator hoses, or like there's no radiators, like all that stuff that we normally change is stock. So I'm a little worried about that, but other than that, we're gonna give it our best shot, and if something goes catastrophically wrong, then I have the carb platform I can still ride.
You had mentioned a couple more holes to fill. In your eyes, what are those holes?
Just consistency with certain things. I mean, we're a small team, and I'm doing a lot of it myself, and the small support I do have is a bit like, it's just kind of a little all over the place. So certain things like that, where to some people it might not seem like a big deal, but at the level we're trying to race, can be a big deal. So we had just a few small issues with certain things at TKO, for example. The wrong antifreeze got put in the bike and caused it to run hot, and I blew a crank seal, and just small stuff like that gets overlooked is the sort of things that we need to clean up, and we would have better results and better finishes, and we'd make the bike look better. So it's just stuff like that where it's just small stuff, and fouled a spark plug at the start line another round, and it's like, who knows when a spark plug is going to foul, but sometimes it happens. So did it get replaced? I'm not really sure, but stuff like that.
Even though I know, obviously, what I did racing the National Enduros this year, following that entire series, that was really hard. And it was, even though I knew it was going to be hard for me to keep up, not just with the bike and the maintenance and fixing what would break, but at the same time, trying to increase as a racer and continue to improve my fitness, continue to improve as a rider so that when I show up to race, it's very easy, right? Like there were times that I would make sure that on my drive out, I would stay in a hotel room, but I would sleep in the van on the way home, right? Because on the way out, I wanted to try to get a better night's sleep so that on race day, I felt a little bit more refreshed. Like little things like that. And it's just so interesting to hear how, and I think we know this, but again, the more it gets talked about, the more it's easy to accept that it just stacks those little tiny 1%. And sometimes it's even those 5% that truly allows you, the racer, to show up on race day and think about nothing except the performance that you need to give on the motorcycle in and of itself. Not, is the spark plug going to fail? Or is the right radiator in it? Or is the chain going to break? Or ... of all those things.
Yeah.
What? This is my Motorcycles and Coffee zip-up hoodie that I'm going to be wearing at King of the Motos because it's going to be super cold out there on Johnson Valley. And at the same time, this zip-up hoodie, guess what? It's got pockets, so I can keep my Motorcycles and Coffee ground coffee with me at all times. Probably going to bring my AeroPress with me in Johnson Valley. So if you want to make sure that we get some good coffee while we are enjoying King of the Motos, go to motorcyclesandcoffee.com and pick yourself up either some wares or some great coffee.
That's 100% true, and not many people except the racer realize that. And that's right, like small things stack, and for example, those are things I have to worry about each round. So it's like if I could eliminate some of that stuff and just focus on the racing, then we're gonna get better results. Like we're gonna finish where I know I can finish. And so yeah, it's tough, but that's the sort of thing I really want to try to smooth out this year. So and finish to where I know I can finish. So yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of finishes, what has been your best finish yet at King of the Motos?
At King of the Motos, I think last year was probably my best ride in recent years with all like the competition, which was I was running like 5th and 6th most of the day. I actually got passed right at the end and had a battle to the up that last hill right by the finish line, and I ended up getting 7th, but that's pretty good for me out there because historically I don't do well out there, and I've just I've been putting the time in out west and trying to figure out the terrain better, and it's paying off because running 6th all day and still finishing 7th, that's pretty good for me. So my plan is to try to get good consistent finishes like that on my worst rounds, and then hopefully come back east and do better.
What is it about King of the Motos that makes it so different from the East Coast rounds? It used to be a lot of open desert speed. Is that still the case, or is it something else?
It's changed for the better. Like you said, it used to be fast. I think it's just there's never anything that's crazy difficult at King of Motos, like a tough Roar where it's like most guys aren't even gonna see the checkered flag. Where this race, it's just it's just a beat down all day. You're just canyon after canyon after canyon, and uphills, downhill canyons, just rocks that just beat the crap out of you for 4 hours. And it's whoever can just stay consistent and ride that stuff at a intense pace. And that's probably the difference there. You're never really stuck in a section for that long. You know what I mean? It's not that crazy tough. It's just relentless kind of style, and that's always been my weakness in the past, because I'm a trials rider, so I really like the tough stuff. So I like that stuff where it's impossible for most guys. So coming out here, it's difficult for me to change it up and ride that fast, intense pace that I'm not quite used to. So I've been getting better at that, and that's, helped me get some better finishes at King of Motos.
One of the things, again, having had the pleasure of announcing for the past couple of years that I've definitely seen in the footage is what is how loose and porous the rocks seem, but it's not like Arizona, like we see there in Page, where that seems to be very sandpapery, where you guys can almost trust that. It seems that once you start to get the bottlenecks and then you start to get a lot of passes on certain sections, a lot of riders through, you'll notice that sand then starting to accumulate on the rocks, and then everything seems to get very slippery.
Hmm.
And again, is that just something that doesn't seem to relate to East Coast because of the difference in the texture, and then again the difference of the way I mean I'm going to say it, the way the rocks are formed, but because I'm not a scientist and I don't know the molecular aspect of it.
I mean, I don't. It's tricky. Like, yeah, the rocks get slick out there when sand gets on them, but it's not the same kind of slick as like East Coast slick. It's like it's a bit different. It's really shifty and loose, and you never quite know like how a run up's gonna go because it's sandy and it's stuff. I think the tricky part is what's in between the rocks, like the sand and the small rocks. It just really makes it unique. And some rocks have traction out there, some don't. Some are glazed over from the crawlers, like they're like dark, gray because the crawlers just peel out on them, and like that's like actually makes them slick. So lots of different things we're dealing with out there for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like it went to the next level of blue groove. It's so
Yeah.
blue grooved, it's become black groove. Like you're saying there, it gets so dark and it gets so gray.
Yeah.
Does any kind of bike setup change for King of the Motos? Or once you guys, and granted, we've discussed the car versus injected in that regard. I guess maybe more on the average, right? Kind of a thing.
I try to just set my bike up for like what I like to call medium enduro, like second, third gear, trying to be stable in rocky like conditions. So the canyons, for example, it's just rocks everywhere, like compacted rocks, loose rocks, spaced out rocks. So if you can go fast in those, especially downhill, I think is important. Being able to just rip down the canyons and have a good suspension setup for that. That's really the main thing I do. I'll just adjust for that, up my rebound a bit, and I want my bike to handle good in that second to third gear where you like want to push faster, but it's pretty rocky and you think you might hit a rock and wipe out, like that sort of stuff. So if you're going like first gear, picking your way through with 1 foot off, it's not that like that's a lot easier to do than try to go fast through like a second gear rock section, I think. So suspension's pretty important.
Yeah. And just to clarify for me, because everybody speaks suspension different, when you say I up my rebound a little bit, does that mean that you try to add more damping so that you actually have slower rebound? Or what do you mean by that when you speak about suspension?
Yeah, I like to speed it up a bit. So I want the rebound to come out faster. The suspension doesn't pack up, because if it's too slow, and you hit a rock and you come up and the rebound's not coming back down fast enough, it'll pack up and really cause the bike to just feel crappy. So I tend to find that a high rebound and a soft compression setup out there works pretty well.
Interesting, man. Well, I have to say, congratulations on the recent engagement, right? Like, holy smokes.
Oh yeah.
That felt like one of those things that, it's like, you're like one, like, again, I'm a voyeurist on social media, if you will, right? And like, there's certain things that people think, and you're kind of like, man, like, it seems like they hang out a lot, but I'm not really going to ever ask about it because then it's just weird kind of a thing. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden
Yeah.
you guys are engaged. And I know it's not all of a sudden, but again, from that perspective of
Right.
just trying to be the social media voyeurist versus all up in everybody's business. So congratulations. Is there a chance
Yeah.
that
Thank you.
I saw that Megs is building the perfect hard enduro bike right now? Is there going to be a series in the future on how to build and grow the perfect hard enduro racer next after you guys get married and have kids?
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. It's always the goal. So,
Right.
yeah, no, yeah, we'll have to see.
She's always done a really good job, I think, keeping herself centered in the way that she wants to show up on social media, right? And I see a little bit of that influence starting to, in a good way, starting to show up for you on social media. I started to see you've always been a quiet individual, and that's fine. That's who you are. But I've started to see you step out a little bit more. And I wanted to know what that feels like for you. Do you feel comfortable sharing what you've learned on social media? Do you believe that you've found a way to give yourself a voice for those that you know can learn what you have, the knowledge that you have?
Yeah, no, that's funny you recognize that. 'Cause she's always pushing me to like, she's like, oh, did you post something today? You got to post. You got to be, people want to see your personality and like they don't want to just see a hashtag Willy Wednesday anymore. Social media is evolving a bit. But yeah, to answer your question, I think, yeah, it's been like, I am relatively quiet, but I think it's important to, you know, share and, you know, try to teach people and just be a positive influence for anybody who's following and anybody who's interested in what you're doing. And that's sort of what I've been trying to do, is just, just be a good role model, and also just share the knowledge that I have. And but yeah, it's sometimes it's just like, like, I don't know if I want to share that today or whatever, but I've come to realize it's just like, it's not that big of a deal. It's just, people put all kinds of crazy stuff out there compared to me. So, but yeah, it's definitely something I'm trying to work on more.
I don't remember if it was your specific YouTube channel or Beaver Creek, I believe it was, is one of the shops that you guys work with. It was the 3 rim lock tire change that you did.
Yeah.
That was a phenomenal video.
Oh,
I'm
thanks.
actually
Yeah.
I'm gonna link that in the description for this, or do a card, whatever I can remember to do in this case. I watched that, and I think my comment on that video was, Quinn, I've known you for a long time, and you may have said more words in that entire video than you have ever to me in the times that we've been either on a podcast together or in person. And you did a great job, but I think it's because you didn't overthink it. You just changed the tire and broke down every time a step that went. So I say that to hopefully give you a little bit of a pat on the back. I know sometimes people need that kind of stuff. Like, that was great. And if you can find yourself in that, I say keep going.
Yeah, I like that kind of stuff. If I'm know what I'm talking about, I have no problem going on and teaching or instructing. Like, it's, as long as if I know what I'm doing, I'm good. So yeah, I do enjoy that. I like to do tutorials. I have other tutorials on my page, and like motorcycle riding stuff, and like, yeah, like, it's not, most people would look at me and think that's not something I like to do just because of how I am, but I do enjoy that, and I like to make content, and maybe I'd do it in a little bit different way than some people, but yeah, it's fun.
That's the beautiful thing about social media, is as long as don't try to be somebody else, try to be the best version of yourself. And there will be people that resonate with that. It's the people that try to emulate somebody else that all of a sudden then they don't know who they are, and then they try to do something on their own, and they just feel like they're failing over and over again because they're now trying to figure out who they are, and that isn't successful, right? But they just like copied a bunch of other people, and that they think was success when it's just copycat. But there's a place for copycat too. And I could keep going, but we're supposed to try to keep these short. I'm doing the worst job ever at my own gig here. Here we are. What's the one thing I didn't ask you that you would want other people to know going into the 2026 King of the Motos and to the 2026 US Hard Enduro season?
I guess basically just how hard I'm working at, trying to do well. It's a really tough thing we're riding 4 or 5 days a week, gym 3-4 days a week, bicycling, and then maintaining that, like maintaining your diet, and like, it's so much work, and for not that much reward. Like, yeah, like mentally it's rewarding and I love doing it, but at this stage in my career, we're putting a lot of work into it, and I'm not really making much money at it, so it's tough. So I think just for people to know how serious we take it, even people like in the industry have no idea how serious the top 10 of us take this and how hard we work at it. Like, we're working just as hard as like most athletes, and half of us are working on top of it. Yeah, I guess just we're putting a lot of work into it. I've been doing a lot of training, and we hope to see that pay off.
Love it, man. I look forward to seeing you in Johnson Valley for the 2026 King of the Motos, and thank you very much for your time.
Awesome. Thank you.
I hope that you're as excited for the 2026 King of the Motos as I am. If you're not going to be able to join us in Hammertown and Johnson Valley, make sure you watch the King of the Motos YouTube channel for the live broadcasts that are going to be happening January 24th and 25th. I'll be there announcing, having a great time. Thank you again to Motorcycles and Coffee for supporting these interviews and the King of the Motos. Check them out at motorcyclesandcoffee.com. Subscribe to Seat Time. We'll see you for the next one. Peace.